All right, folks, how you doing? RussellTrueResults303.com. Check out the website. Link in the description box. Got a couple free gifts there for you. One on setting goals and one on nutrition. Mind, body, spirit, fitness, putting the healing back in health. Coming at you today with a spiritual mind, body video. It's going to be the whole thing once again. And this is going to be American celibacy. I think America is a majority of our youth coming up nowadays, or even early 20s, they're just living a life of celibacy, whether they want to admit it or not. And I'm going to discuss that. It seems kind of weird, right? How is that considered celibacy? You know, a lot of people are out there, they got, live-in girlfriends or boyfriends, they live together. Um, a lot of people, it's a very promiscuous society nowadays. So how is this a culture of celibacy? So I Googled celibacy. What's the definition? It is something like abstaining from marriage or sexual relations, something like that, right? That's what we get as the definition of celibacy. So, what do they say is, if you're to use contraception, condoms, or the pill, it's going to prevent birth, the birth of a child or pregnancy, or at least it's supposed to help prevent. The best form of safe sex is celibacy. There's no such thing as safe sex. There's just safer sex. That's why when you look on the cover of these condoms or on the warning label, it says, it cannot prevent STDs. It can only, reduce the risk of contracting an STD or even pregnancy. It's only 90%, 95%, something along those lines. So celibacy is abstaining from marriage or sexual relationships. So marriage, of course, like I said, with the marriage rate where it's at, where people aren't even getting married now because, well, I don't know why they don't want to go through the issue of divorce if it happens, since divorce is so high. Child support, because child support is so high. That's why we're using contraception. Um, just for whatever reason, we are not getting married like we used to, and if we are, we're getting divorced, unfortunately. So that's where I say we are a society of celibates, of being celibate, because we're not getting married. We're just like, it's okay to live with each other. It helps pay the bills, but I don't want to have a joint bank account with this person. I don't want. I knew a girl who, that's what she said. I like the person, but I'm not ready to join bank accounts with him, which I thought was funny. I don't know if she made more money than him. I don't know what the case would be, but I thought that was a funny statement. I'm not ready to join bank accounts with him. You can be married and not even have a joint bank account. You can have separate bank accounts. There's nothing wrong with that. But so in another way, how are we a celibate nation? Even you could say probably a celibate world. And it's because when Christians want to discuss the topic of why marriage should be between a man and a woman, we're no longer going biblical. Because if it's someone who is a non-believer and don't care about the Bible, you can't come at that person from a biblical point of view. We have to come at them from what we call moral law or nature's law. And the reason why sex is between a man and a woman, because only intercourse between a man and a woman can create a child. So that's why we say marriage is between a man and a woman, because that's the only way a child can be born. Yeah, now we're trying to do other things, but in nature's plan, that's the only way, right? It doesn't even matter if the woman is a lesbian. If she had sex with a man, there's a great chance that she would still have a baby, just because she decides that she is a lesbian. Or if a man decides that he is gay, doesn't mean that they can't reproduce. They can still reproduce if they come together. That's why marriage is between a man and a woman. So now we've got to see that in a celibate way, right? It's abstaining from sexual relation, which is preventing the birth of children. So even though we are in this society of lots of sex, everywhere you look, TV, billboards, magazines, everything like that, people aren't having children. They don't want to have children. They just want to have sex. So in reality, if we're going from nature's law of sex is for creating a child, we are a society of celibates because that's the last thing anybody wants is to have a child in today's society. And then this bleeds over into everything else in the world around us, right? People want to say that Social Security is going downhill because the government is misusing the money. But in reality, I'm not going to say that that's not happening, but in reality, it is that Social Security works because when my mother gets older, she had me, I can provide tax money for her, but in reality, excuse me, she's only replacing herself. My father just died, so we don't have to worry about that. But if two people come together to have a child, you only have one. You only have one child trying to pay taxes for two people. That's not how it works. The reason why Social Security worked so well in the past was because that baby boomer generation having 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 kids, they have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 kids to pay taxes for them, right? So now that's another reason why Social Security is going downhill. We're in a society that it has minimal children, one, maybe two. If we're only having one, we're not even able to create enough, create enough beings to pay taxes to help you out. So that's another reason why Social Security is kind of going downhill. But the same thing, like I said, it's funny. We don't want to marry and we don't want to have children. What is a celibate? Someone that doesn't have married, that does not get married and doesn't have sexual relations. If we're going off nature's law, sexual relations is for the birth of children to populate this world. But we don't want to populate this world. We're only getting half of what sex truly means. And then I was reading this book. My grandfather passed 2 or 3 years ago, and he had a book called How to Please a Woman Every Time or something like that. My dad at the time was alive, so he's like, "Oh, take this." And I just decided to read it the other day. I was bored. It was like a 50 little page book about this big. So I decided to read it. And it was written, I think, in the early 2000s. And if this is the case, then, it's another reason why America and the world is a celibate world. Because they were saying when she did her questionnaire to, it was like 300, 500 women or something like that. It was like 80% of women don't even have orgasms. 90% of women don't even have orgasms and they fake it, or they've only had one or two ever in their life, or this or that. So once again, it leads to that world of celibacy, and it's also, this is where it all comes full circle, folks. She talked about in there the perfect, to make sure that your lover, the woman, has an orgasm every time, and she gave some tips and tricks on what to do, and I might make a video on that. But if women, I got off subject when I lost my train of thought there, but it's that same thing. If women aren't even really enjoying sex because the men ain't doing anything for them, now no wonder why women don't want to get married. No wonder why they don't want to have kids. And here's the topic I was going to get at, and that's the downfall when she's bringing up kind of pornography, and she was talking about these romance novels, or more like 50 Shades of Grey. I guess I've never read it, but she was talking about romance novels and pornography in general. This misconception of what sex really is, and she called it that Big Bang Theory, more of the just go at it, get it done and over with. That's not what it's about. It's about two people connecting, and even in the Theology of the Body, written by Pope John Paul II, he even says in it that when a man and woman come together in intercourse, if both of them are not having orgasm, then it's not really even sex. The man should be pleasing his woman just like the woman should be pleasing her man. So if both are not having an orgasm, it's not even really sex. It's, you should be enjoying it together. And I'm sure I misquoted the heck out of that. So you're going to have to do some research on that your own. Like I said, I think America is a world of celibates. The world today is a world of celibates. Nobody wants to get married. Nobody wants to have children. And that's pretty much what it's about. That's it. We're becoming too selfish and too greedy for our own good. And eventually it's going to catch up with us, and we're going to realize that we've been living our lives completely wrong. So a little bit of food for thought. I know it was a long video. They say people don't like long videos, but hey, sometimes it takes 10 minutes to get the point across. So I hope this helps. Subscribe to the channel, share and like these videos.